college teams with what they're doing on the
I
returns.
mean, it's huge. I mean, #1 punt returner in America. The biggest key is can you, first you got to protect, obviously, and then you hope to kick the ball high enough where we can get our coverage under there and force a fair catch, and that's ideal. That's what you want. If he does, you know, if he gets started, we're going to be holding our breath, because everybody who has allowed him to get started has paid for it. So the goal is not to let him get started.
Mark, so much was made of the nose tackle position last year and losing Jenkins and Gathers and the big guys, but
Right.
how would you kind of rate Mays and I guess Taylor and whoever else? Certainly the numbers don't suggest you've lost much there.
Well, Mays has done very well. I'm really pleased with what he did. And, you know, Thornton's played a little bit in there, and then, like you say, Big John Taylor's played in there a little bit, and well, I think they've done well. You know, I'm not going to say we're not missing those other guys at all, but you know, those guys have stepped up and played well.
Does it show that you don't necessarily need to be 350 pounds to?
Well, Mays about, what is he, 330? He's close. And he's pretty solid too now. I mean, there's not anything hanging off of him. He's a very strong guy. And when we first got here, we were a little concerned about his initial quickness and agility, but he had a great summer and worked hard on those kind of things, and we saw a great difference. And he's in good enough shape where he can play hard the whole time he's in there, so he's done well.
When it's this late in the season and there's so much film on both teams, does it become a little harder to, you know, trick them, just make game planning a little bit easier?
Well, I mean, if you're going to try to trick somebody, if you have, like offensively, if you have a tendency to do, if you run this play 90% of the time out of this formation, then they tend to think, well, there's a good chance they're going to run this play when you're in this formation. That's where you might do something different to throw them off. So sometimes this late in the year, you actually can trick them because you've shown enough of a tendency where they're kind of counting on this to happen, and then you maybe fake what you normally do and then do something else. Defensively, I don't know if there's much you can do to trick anybody other than just get into a new alignment or put in a new blitz or twist or something like that, something that just hadn't been seen. But by this time of year, there aren't a lot of surprises this time of year.
Generally, when you're facing a zone read team like this with a quarterback as effective as Nick and the tailback like it is, who on the defense has generally got the most pressure on them?
Well, usually it's the end man on the line, whoever the end man on the line is.
The end?
Well, the end man on the line.
Okay, I got you.
It could be.
Could be an outside linebacker, could be a tackle.
Could be a linebacker, could be a tackle, could be a tackle outside linebacker, could be a defensive back possibly, depending on the formation.
But that's where he's looking the majority of the time to see what that guy's doing.
There's a certain guy that they're going to read, and sometimes they'll block your end man on the line and then read the next backer inside. Sometimes they'll actually block the end man on the line, come up for the backer, and then they'll read a three technique sometimes. They'll read an interior defensive lineman sometimes. You know, so they can kind of change on who they're reading. But you know, those are the guys that really got to do a good job. They end up, in essence, they're the unblocked guy that the quarterback's reading, and if he does one thing, he'll hand it. If he does another, he'll run it.
Time for one more. We got some of the guys.
Dallas Lee didn't see him out there.
He did scout team work. He must have been getting some treatment on his elbow.